I never expected the conversation about my mother's will to end with Victor Slade raising his hand to strike me. The kitchen in our family home in Pine Harbor, Michigan, felt colder than the February wind rattling the windows. The smart lights dimmed automatically as the argument escalated, and the intercom speakers, part of the security system my mother had insisted on installing, hummed faintly in the background. Victor had been married to my mother, Eleanor Morgan, for just 7 months before her battle with aggressive liver cancer took her. At the funeral, he'd played the perfect widower, dabbing dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, accepting hugs from neighbors with solemn nods.
But now,
3 days later, standing in the same kitchen where Mom used to bake her famous cinnamon rolls,
he loomed over me.
I just want to know about the will, Victor. Mom was always so organized with her estate planning, I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. I was Ava Morgan, a forensic accountant at a regional bank in Grand Rapids. My days were spent dissecting financial records, spotting irregularities in balance sheets that others missed. Victor dismissed my work as bean counting, but it had honed my instincts for when numbers didn't add up. He scoffed, his contractor's calloused hand gesturing dismissively. Everything's being handled by my attorney. Legal processes take time.
Ava.
Your mother changed firms recently. His tone carried that familiar edge of condescension. That's when I press further. The lake cabin? The trust accounts? She always said those were meant for me to finish my certification courses. Victor's face hardened. He stepped closer, and without warning, his hand shot up as if to slap me. He stopped short, but the intent was there, the raised palm, the flash of anger. He didn't realize the smart doorbell camera had captured the motion, streaming it silently to the cloud, or that the kitchen intercom, left on from an earlier call, was feeding audio straight to a secure line. I backed away.
Heart pounding.
You just threatened me. Get out of my house, he growled, lowering his hand but not the menace. It's not your house yet, I whispered, grabbing my coat. That night, I couldn't sleep in my childhood bedroom. The photos of Mom still smiled from the walls, her kind eyes, the ones that had taught me to question everything since I was 12, balancing checkbooks and reviewing contracts over dinner. The next morning, I drove to the county recorder's office before Victor woke. The clerk pulled up the records. The lake cabin, purchased with Dad's insurance money years ago, had been transferred to Willow Point Holdings LLC just days after Mom entered hospice. The signature looked shaky, dated the day after her passing. My blood ran cold. I called Aunt Clara, Mom's closest friend. She mentioned a trust from Grandma's estate for your professional development, Clara said quietly. But Victor said everything went to him as spouse. That afternoon, I met with neighbor Ruth Whitaker, a retired court clerk. She handed me a sealed envelope Mom had given her months earlier. She said if anything happened, show this to Ava. Inside was a copy of Mom's 2020 will naming me sole beneficiary. Ruth also revealed the LLC was tied to Victor's son, Ryan, a slick real estate broker who'd eyed the cabin for development. We mapped the timeline on legal pads, Mom's diagnosis, the rushed marriage, her decline, the LLC formation, the questionable transfer. It screamed premeditated asset stripping. Ruth recommended attorney Lena Vargas in Grand Rapids, specializing in estate disputes. That evening, back at the house, Victor was reviewing contractor bids in the den. Planning changes already? I asked. Phone discreetly recording. Michigan's one-party consent law made it legal. The place needs modernization. Your mother let it go. Mom renovated last year. He shrugged. Her taste. Now it's mine. I pushed about the life insurance. I'm listed as beneficiary. Victor's jaw clenched. Spouses inherit automatically in some cases. But I knew better. Policies don't work that way without changes. Later, I contacted Mom's old law firm. They'd been replaced in July, right as Mom entered ICU. With Victor holding power of attorney, Mom had explicitly given me medical POA, barring Victor from health decisions. Why financial control? Lying in bed, surrounded by Mom's lingering scent on her pillow, I vowed to follow the trail. Victor had no idea the analytical daughter he'd underestimated was about to unravel everything. 3 days later, the tension boiled over again. I'd spoken to notary Paula Grant, who admitted Ryan brought pre-signed papers and paid her to backdate them after Mom's death. Paula's shaky confession was recorded. I confronted Victor in the kitchen past 10 p.m. I talked to Paula today. His shoulders tensed. You had no business. The deed is dated after she died. Dead people don't sign. Victor's face reddened. She wanted me cared for. We discussed it. While she was on morphine, non-responsive, I stepped closer. Nurses' records prove it. He snarled. You don't know what went on between us. I listed the LLC transfer to his son's company. The questionable insurance claim. The asset moves. This is fraud. Elder abuse. The smart home system hummed, indicators glowing green. Victor slammed his hand down, then shoved me hard. I stumbled, hip crashing into the island. Pain flared, but the doorbell camera triggered on motion and voices. Streaming to Lena Vargas's office, she had remote access as my attorney. You assaulted me, I said, pressing the bruise. You fell. Just like your mother at the end. The recording caught every word, including his slip about helping her sign things she didn't remember. Sirens approached. Lena had called authorities upon hearing the shove. Officers arrived, took statements and photos of my injury. No immediate arrest. Domestic reports often start that way, but it was documented. The next morning at Lena's Riverside office, she reviewed the audio. This is powerful, but we need the paper trail. We subpoenaed medical records. Mom was barely conscious after late January. The codicil was dated February 1st, 4 days after capacity loss. Dr. Ramirez's affidavit confirmed it. Paula cracked under threat of charges. Ryan paid her $600 cash to notarize a dead woman's signature. She agreed to testify for immunity. Financial digs revealed transfers from Mom's accounts to the LLC, then to Victor's construction firm for fake management fees. He was billing the estate he stole from. Ruth uncovered 2 prior widows in Pine Harbor who'd married Victor or similar figures late in life, losing everything. The LLC name appeared in transfers. Lena filed to freeze assets. Judge Harlan granted it, removing Victor as representative. Detective Walsh from Economic Crimes Unit noted they'd watched Victor for years but lacked proof until my recordings. Arrests followed. Victor and Ryan led away in handcuffs. Reporters swarmed. But the fight continued. In mediation at a community center, Victor arrived thinner. Swagger gone. Ryan looked defeated. License suspended. Lena laid out evidence. Paula's testimony. Medical affidavits. Financial trails totaling over $1.8 million stolen. She played the kitchen recording. Enhanced to catch background admissions with Ryan. Victor offered information on prior victims for leniency. Lena refused deals but used it strategically. Retired Judge Ellis observed neutrally. Victor signed quitclaim deeds under pressure from the evidence mountain. Assets began returning. But the criminal case expanded with wire fraud charges. At the probate hearing, Lena presented timelines, video depositions, fake invoices from Victor's firm, $900,000 plus in phantom work, post-death credit cards, and hidden offshore accounts from jail calls. Judge Harlan voided all fraudulent documents, reversed transfers, awarded damages, and referred for RICO investigation into the pattern targeting vulnerable women. Victor confessed partially on video link, but it sealed his fate. Other victims' families attended, sharing stories. Weeks later, at the lake cabin now restored, I discovered Mom's hidden note and safe in the attic. Original will. Video testimony. PI reports on Victor. Prepaid legal fees for Lena. And a letter explaining she'd suspected him and prepared protections while dying. Families of victims gathered for a memorial-turned-support group at the cabin, turning it into a healing retreat. Mom's education trust funded my next certification. Victor's sentence, 32 years. Ryan, 14 years. Justice served. But the moral lingers, how easily greed preys on love and vulnerability. Yet a mother's foresight and a daughter's determination can prevail from beyond the grave. What would you do if faced with the same betrayal?